Episode 8, we're talking about being the tortoise. What does it mean to be a tortoise? Are we talking about an episode of Wildcrats here? Do you know who they are? My son loves them.
No clue. No clue.
You don't know the Wildcrats? Wow. Okay. So plug for anyone with a, I'll call it less than 10 years old, start watching Wildcrats. You'll find it on PBS Kids or anywhere you can find streaming online. It's a show about animals. These brothers run around and they just do a show about wildlife, conservation, education of different animals and different environments all around the world. They travel, and then they take their travels and morph it into an animated series. And my son is addicted. He watches it every morning before school.
All right. Well, keep that in mind when the next time I'm with my nieces who are 6 going to be 7. Maybe we'll be turning on PBS and watching this show.
They know who Wildcrats are.
So the tortoise in my mind, which, when we hear words, phrases, we all get different mental images and pictures. For me, I get a picture of truly a tortoise plodding along a path and just slowly going. And the reason why that picture in my mind just repeats over and over. It's kind of like if you're going to watch a movie again, for me, it's the tortoise just keeps replaying in my mind. It's because when you go slow and you plan and you think of your life as a marathon instead of a sprint, then you can achieve so much more. You can be present in everyday circumstances. You're not the hare. You're not just going so fast in this world that we live in.
So you just said it, the hare, right? So that's what we're talking about. It's that story, right? We've all heard it, the tortoise and the hare. And every little kid that reads that story or has that story read to them immediately thinks before that story's over that the hare's going to win, right? The hare is faster. There's no way that the tortoise could win this race. But the tortoise does. I hope I'm not spoiling this for anybody.
Spoiler alert.
I hope that was a joke. It was intended to be rhetorical. But yeah, the tortoise wins, right? We know this story, we know the outcome, and we know why. And it's a lot of the things that you just said, Christine, right? We're being intentional. We're going into things well informed. You can't do those things if you're rushing, if you're busy, right? You have to take that moment. And some of the advice that we've given in previous episodes that I've given in coaching sessions is to take that pause, right? The power in the pause, having that moment between an impulse and a decision so that you hopefully give yourself time to make the right decision, right? And that's going to mean different things for different people in different scenarios. And that's kind of the point, right? Is that there is no one answer, one and done. We talk about this with budgeting. You can't just make one budget and then use that budget.
Set it and forget it.
Yeah, there's no such thing as set it and forget it. Even the things that there are some things that we set and forget, so to speak, but if you truly leave them alone and just let them do their thing, eventually they're no longer usable, right? They don't work the way intended if you don't interact with them again. So I think we do. We have to be intentional. We have to slow down. This world we live in is so fast paced right now. And there's so much happening so fast, it's easy to get caught up in that. And I think, if you just look at manufacturing, for example, I come from a background of manufacturing, and this mentality of the word that is used a lot, and it's used in a positive way, but it leaves a very negative impression, is urgency. There's this sense of urgency, and that's oftentimes promoted as a good thing. But what it creates is this speed of working, but not really yielding much in the way of results, right? Everybody's busy, but what are they getting for their efforts?
Yeah, I think urgency, and I also immediately associate it with frenzy.
Yeah.
We're just in this state of frenzy where are we making the best possible choices, decisions in those moments of everything is just going so fast?
Yeah, and let me ask, so I'm going to ask everybody, think about this question while I'm asking it, but Christine, I'm going to put you on the spot here. So have you ever found yourself in the situation where you're in that moment of urgency, even if you haven't identified it yet, but you're in a situation where you're making a decision, and then you've made that decision, and now it becomes, okay, what's next? And then what's next? And then what's next? What's next? What's next? And you had a goal going into that activity. But then when you finally have time to breathe, you look at where you are and where you intended to be going, and you couldn't be any farther from your original target. Can you think of any examples? Has that ever happened to you?
Absolutely, and I think of it happens a lot within my business because
There you
I'll
go.
get a new idea and I'll want to pursue that, and then before I know it, I've gone down this rabbit hole of heading in this direction, and then when I kind of stop and pause, I'm like, "Well, is this really the path that I wanna go down,
Mm.
or is this just the path that I took because in that state of urgency, it seemed like the best choice in the moment?"
Yeah, it's
I
like
do try to sleep on it.
mhm.
If there's a big decision that I'm going to make, even if my intuition is saying, yeah, this is the way to go, this is the thing to do, I have always found in my life when I sleep on something, the clarity that comes with that has been so valuable. And then times that I am impulsive and make that rash decision in that moment of trying to do something fast, it either bites me or it could have been done better
Right.
if I had just waited and thought it through a little bit more, or I didn't forget something. Maybe I wanted to, let's talk about this example of maybe it's like updating your resume. You're so fed up
Mm.
with your job, you're just tired of being there. So you quickly put together a resume, you quickly apply for a job on Indeed, and then you realize, well, wait a minute, because I did this so fast, I didn't really think about all these other attributes and values that I could be adding to this resume that really, makes me shine more. I just did this in such a hasty way.
There's another aspect to what you're just describing. So recently, I was watching one of my feeds on YouTube, and Ken Coleman pops up, and he's talking about sort of this next wave of the Great Resignation, where people are leaving their jobs, and not that it's necessarily going to happen in any specific time or anything, but he had the opportunity to interview several people who had left their jobs, and what he found absolutely floored me. So what you just said, you jump on Indeed, you're looking for a job, you're in the moment, and you think, either I just need this job, or I need a job, or I need a different job, or whatever that looks like for these individuals. What was happening is people were so upset with their current situation in their job that they were taking the action to go get a new job before ever mentioning anything about their frustration with their supervisors.
Mm.
So this Ken Coleman, if you know him, you know who I'm talking about. He interviewed several people who had done this and asked, "Did you write down some of your frustrations, some of your issues, and talk to your leadership about that?" No, we didn't. So then he takes it a step farther. He actually interviews the leadership. "Hey guys, do you know what's going on?" And they said, "We had no idea." And then he asked the follow up question: "Would you have made accommodations if given the opportunity to keep these employees?" Overwhelmingly, the answer, now who knows, right? I mean, they're answering the question, maybe they're saving face, but very genuinely, several of these leaders, who are being interviewed, and this is video, so you can kind of read body language, and it's hopefully it's as advertised, not being scripted. These people haven't been prepped, but overwhelmingly, they all said, absolutely, we don't want to have this turnover. We don't want to lose these people. Now, there's people that are going to leave, right? Regardless of the situation. There's opportunities that take you away from job to job to job, right? And all that's fine. And you should do that. You should pursue opportunities. But if you've got a frustration, I just want to say, take a moment, slow down, try to schedule some time with your supervisor, and give them an opportunity to fix that before you make the decision to leave, because that really should be part of that decision. Do I
Absolutely.
do I have
Absolutely.
do I have an opportunity to make an improvement before I force myself into this decision to leave? Now, leaving may still be the right outcome, right? You may decide that at the end of all this, that's really the only option.